If you're feeling tired all the time, or if you've got headaches, or just constantly fatigued, and even experiencing allergies or sinusitis or hay fever and that sort of thing, or you're worried about your cancer risk, then you'll definitely want to watch this video. It's from a PhD toxicologist called Yvonne Burkart, and she's being interviewed on his podcast, Diary of a CEO. Now, it's a 2-hour interview, so what I've done is I've summarised it down into about 15 minutes, but highlighted the key points. So it's really, really important to get these key points, because there are some changes that you can make in your home that could reduce a lot of these conditions, and these things haven't really been talked about or acknowledged by our mainstream health system, but we need to look at it seriously. So you'll be pretty interested, and there's some actions you'll better take straight away after watching this video. So what I'm going to do is share parts of the interview, and then I'll come back and talk to it a little bit. All right, let's get into it.
You mentioned cancer is one of the downstream consequences of living in a toxic environment. When we look at the stats around cancer, are there any stats in particular that you think are most clearly associated with us living in such a toxic environment? One of them that always brings to mind is breast cancer, because I think I read or heard that breast cancer is on the rise, or has been rising for the last couple of decades. And when you look at the Western world versus something like, a tribe in Africa, they don't see the same levels of breast cancer.
Yeah, that is definitely a concern, because cancer historically was a disease of aging. It wasn't so common that you see cancer in your 30s, 40s, and even 50s. Now we're seeing a shift. The window is moving earlier and earlier. Cancer incidence, like you said, breast cancer incidence is definitely on the rise. I myself never knew anyone that suffered from breast cancer or survived it until I hit my 30s. Then I knew 5 people that had it, including 2 people that I worked with in the toxicology lab.
And what are your suspicions about the root causes of this rising cancer?
I definitely think there is a huge environmental component to it, because a lot of what was believed decades ago was that disease and cancer incidence had to do with your genes. You were just genetically predisposed. You were unlucky. But in actuality, what we're seeing now is that the environment plays such a massive role in whether or not you actually have cancer. So just because you have the predisposition to developing breast cancer, such as the BRCA gene, doesn't mean you'll get it. It really depends on your lifestyle. There was a study recently that looked at removing certain ingredients from beauty and personal care products. So women without any history of breast cancer were asked to remove these ingredients from their products for 28 days. So that's very short. 4 weeks, right? They took cells from the breast tissue. They were all normal. They measured the amount of breast cancer gene expression. After 28 days, they took another sample. So after 28 days of removing these ingredients, they took another sample, and they saw that the breast cancer gene expression dropped. And the only thing that they were asked to change about their lifestyle was to remove these ingredients from their beauty and personal care products.
And which products were they told to remove, and what ingredients were those?
It was skincare, deodorant, shampoo, things that most people are using. And the ingredients were phthalates, which can often be found in fragrance. So the seemingly innocuous little term on the ingredients list, fragrance or parfum, can contain a huge number of chemicals. It's hidden behind this umbrella term because by law in Europe and in the US, manufacturers do not have to disclose this. It is considered trade secret. And within that chemical mixture are known carcinogens, endocrine disruptors like phthalates, and the most potent allergens known to man.
How do I find a safer alternative? What am I looking for?
So you don't want fragrances.
At all?
And you definitely, yes, so avoid the word fragrance unless it says that the fragrance comes from essential oil.
Is there...
So that's really interesting, because the fragrances and the phthalates and the endocrine disruptors she's talking about are absolutely everywhere. They're in almost everything that we use that has any kind of smell to it. And she goes on to talk about it a bit more, and we might hear a bit more about this, but things like scented candles or incense, And the children's things that they use, like stickers or marker pens, anything that's got a nice smell to it, and it's quite addictive. And she talks about how the kids get addicted to these things, these nice smelling things. And so then we introduce them into the bathroom and into the air fresheners, and there's just such a huge range of things. Even textiles and fabrics have them added, sometimes makeups, deodorants. And she talks specifically there about deodorants. Anything that's airborne that gets into the air is going to get inhaled, and you get these toxic substances directly into the bloodstream. And endocrine disruptors, carcinogens, and rates of cancer are directly linked to these things. So it's really frightening when you think about it. But let's carry on with this video a little bit further.
Thing on the label that I can trust when it comes to deodorants? Is there like a certain term that I'm looking for? You said phthalate free. Is there anything else that?
Yes, so phthalate free and paraben free are definitely helpful,
Okay.
because then we know at least 2 of the known endocrine disruptors that we have evidence on are not found in that product.
It is pretty crazy that I could get a lighter and go shh, and it would be flammable, and then I spray that on my body like it's like I'm lathering myself in petrol or something. It is pretty crazy.
That's essentially what that is.
Petrol.
Yeah, because it's coming from petroleum, all of the propellants and some of the other base ingredients. I'm sure I haven't looked at it, but I'm almost certain, because that is the source of the majority of ingredients that go into these products.
This is my last day ever using aerosol deodorants. I read a stat that said 91% of antiperspirants, 95% of shaving products, 83% of moisturizers, and 63% of sunscreens contain fragrance. And 96% of shampoos, 98% of conditioners, 97% of hair styling products contain fragrance as well.
Even they have markers, pens, crayons, they've got scented stickers. I mean, scented everything. Scent is everywhere now. The fragrance industry has absolutely exploded in the last 10 or 15 years. And fragrances are the most pervasive source, one of the most pervasive sources of toxins in our homes, in our daily lives.
In terms of seasonal allergies, in 2021, approximately 81 million Americans were diagnosed with allergic rhinitis, also known as hay fever or seasonal allergies. By 2018, nearly 42 million Americans, or 13% of the population, had been diagnosed with asthma in their lifetime.
There's studies showing that there are people who, as soon as you light a candle, then people start having migraines. They can't think straight anymore. They become dizzy. But not only that, like you said, increased asthma incidents. And once you get asthma, it doesn't go away. You have reactive airways. So then you're triggered again whenever you encounter these chemicals. But now some...
Right. So just looking at this a little bit further, because we haven't got time to watch the whole video, so I'll just summarize for you. But some of the things you can do that are really make a big difference really quickly to get these chemicals out of the air that we're breathing in. Because like she said, asthma and allergies, allergic rhinitis, sinusitis, all of these things can be connected with these chemicals that are breathing in, and cancer reduction is also a benefit. So I suggest using natural plant-based things. And one thing you can do is essential oils, because essential oils are fantastic. They're safe, they're natural, they're non-chemical based, and you can put those into, and they are put into organic products. So she does go on to talk about organic products, using organic healthcare, organic cosmetics, anything that's got organic. If it's certified organic, it shouldn't have any of these toxic chemicals in them. And these chemicals, these fragrances, are hidden under a term on the labels of products. So have a look. Amongst all the other chemicals that you might find on a shampoo, for example, or a cosmetic, is fragrance. And that covers, that one word, fragrance or parfum, covers 15,000 chemicals that are into this category of these phthalates, endocrine disruptors, and toxic compounds. So they're allowed to hide them under one word, fragrance or parfum. So have a look for that. But what I can suggest is using things like coconut oil or aloe vera, or getting unscented candles. Instead of using incense, maybe burn essential oils in an oil burner for air freshener and scent and that sort of thing. So whatever you can do to avoid the chemicals, I highly recommend doing it right away. Right, let's carry on. Now she goes on to talk a bit more about plastics.
These chemicals have spread so far and wide, and One example being PFAS. They're known as forever chemicals because they don't degrade. They can travel so far. They've basically covered the globe. They are found in polar bear fat. So that just tells you how far up the food chain these chemicals have traveled because they don't break down. So as soon as an animal eats it and then it gets eaten by another animal, so on and so forth, then it reaches the apex predators, right? And it's stored in their fat. And in polar bears, it's been seen that you can find some of these chemicals.
And what chemicals are those? PFAS?
PFAS.
PFAS. What does that stand for?
PFAS. So per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. It's a huge chemical class of about 15,000 different chemicals. And that includes things like PFOA, PFOS, and PTFE, which are more commonly known as Teflon, non-stick chemicals.
Like this non-stick pan that I have here.
Exactly. PTFE is the chemical name for Teflon. So Teflon is used to create the non-stick coating. Well, I can tell you that they've measured the amount of chemicals that are coming off of the pans. And so if you've ever had a non-stick piece of cookware, it scratches very easily.
Yeah.
And some of these scratches are microscopic and invisible to the naked eye. Studies have found that a surface scratch can release 9,000 particles from that nonstick coating into your food. And if it's a crack, that number jumps up to 2.3 billion particles that are transferred into your food.
And what's that going to do to my health? What are these PFAS doing to my health?
Well, PFAS are linked with several types of cancers, so kidney and testicular cancer, thyroid disorders, which thyroid problems are so common these days, but they're not normal. Then we have increased risk of miscarriage, preterm labor, preterm birth, preeclampsia, which is high blood pressure during pregnancy. Could be deadly. You also have increased obesity that's linked with PFAS chemicals. And PFAS also contribute to an increase in endometriosis and PCOS.
Oh, really?
So people who have endometriosis and PCOS, they have found to have higher levels of PFAS in their bodies. And PFAS are found in everybody. No one's exempt. Everyone has PFAS in our bodies. But whether or not they're able to exert toxicity depends on your inner environment, depends on how many other chemicals your body is working to fight off.
I just pulled up some studies here. One of the studies from 2023, which you might be aware of, showed that higher levels of PFAS in the blood of women in Singapore were associated with a 30 to 40% lower chance of pregnancy and live birth within 1 year. Another study sampled 381 blood samples from people trying to lose weight, and no matter the diet that these participants tried, they gained weight if they had elevated PFAS exposure. What the hell? Keep that one.
Yeah, so that's really interesting too, because these things are on the non-stick cookware, but they're not just on the non-stick cookware. They've got into the environment and they never ever go away. So what she's talking about there with polar bears, that it's in the polar bear fat, means that it's got around the entire globe, and she will talk about it a bit more, that it's got into every single human being. So we've all got these like plastic compounds that come off the Teflon and the non-stick frying pans and cookware, and they've gone everywhere. And so the only thing you can really do is to avoid it. And she doesn't even recommend throwing them away, because if you throw them away, they're going to go into the environment. But just stop using them and go into cast iron or stainless steel cookware and that sort of thing. But she's going to talk more about this plastics, which is really, really interesting. So we'll carry on.
Okay, what about this nice plastic container? Super convenient. Put my lunch in it. Go to work. Maybe pop it in the microwave. Heat it up. Get my takeaway in it. Plastic container. Good?
Absolutely not. Do not microwave plastic containers. Even after just a few seconds, you'll get release of billions of microplastic particles into your food. Just from a tiny square centimeter, you'll get billions of microplastic particles. And with microplastics, they're hard. It's a solid mass. It does not break down in the body.
What if it says BPA free?
That's great, but it's still plastic. It's still microplastic. It's still nanoplastic releasing.
Okay, so you don't want to be microwaving these. And,
Yeah.
and if I get microplastics into my food, what's the net impact? What's the harm of that?
Well, microplastics don't break down. they don't go away. Again, they're accumulating in human tissues. So they've actually been found in a whole number. I'm pretty sure they're all over the body at this point. We just have to see the evidence to know, right? And so they're in human lungs, blood, in the gut tissue, they're in heart, they're in brain, they are in the placenta, they're also in penis, and they have been detected in...
There's microplastics in my penis.
Yes, there could be. Studies have shown that. And even in newborn babies. So when babies are born, they have their first bowel movement, which is known as meconium. And in the meconium, microplastics have been found. So that means babies are being exposed to microplastics in utero. They're being born with plastics in their body.
And what's the risk of that?
Well, the risk is that they don't go away, number one. And on a cellular level, they're causing inflammation and oxidative stress. And oxidative stress is free radical damage. And what that means is if you ingest these microplastic particles, which everyone is, and they're in your tissues, and your body cannot get rid of them, then they're basically like the equivalent of 1 million little fires all over your body. And unless you have enough detox capability, like antioxidants, to get rid of them, they're there to stay.
What do you mean by detox capabilities? As in my liver and my
Yeah,
kidneys?
exactly. Every cell in your body has some antioxidants in it. If you didn't, you would be dead. Because in order to live on this planet and breathe oxygen, we need antioxidants to neutralize the free radicals that happen through cellular respiration, right? So whenever we breathe oxygen, there are free radicals that are created. And our cells have naturally in them antioxidants like glutathione, and they help to neutralize these free radicals. But glutathione is also vital for detoxifying environmental chemicals. So if you think about it, how does the body decide what's more important? Do I neutralize these free radicals because I need to breathe and live? Or do I have to deal with these chemicals over here? I don't know. So you're literally being torn. Your body is torn at this point.
Okay, I'm just going to pause it there again. And she's talking about your detox capacity and the ability to detox and how important that is to dealing with these plastics. So I think that's worth remembering, that your detox capacity is what really deals with these things. So even if you convert from everything plastic in your home, which by the way we should mention, wooden kitchen utensils, wooden spoons and wooden spatulas are far better than anything plastic or stainless steel. But I've gone a lot to wooden because wooden is really an awesome way to prepare your food. And also plastic containers, the food containers in the fridge, you're better to use ceramic or stainless. And even the wraps, the Glad wrap or anything like that, you can get little wax covers that go over things. I've been using those a lot, and they're amazing because they last forever, and you never need to buy any sort of cling wrap once you start using those. And so it's really just a matter of going through your home and looking at what you can eliminate and what you can replace with things that are non-plastic. And then looking at your detox capacity. She talks about glutathione, increasing your glutathione. There's a lot of herbs that do that. So, you can do a lot with herbs. I've got a couple I could share with you here actually. So I'll just, hang on, I'll put these on. So milk thistle, green tea, cloves, high antioxidant herbs, ginger root, turmeric, spirulina, chlorella, really well known detox herbs as well, but really high antioxidants, dandelion, beetroot, bilberry, huge antioxidant rich, black pepper, another one, fantastic for antioxidants, and peppermint. So there's just a quick snapshot of some of the herbs that we use in a detox program to help your body to eliminate and also deal with the inflammation that might be caused by either fragrances or those phthalates that you might inhale or plastics that you might be exposed to. But I highly recommend going on an elimination process and getting rid of some of these things. And also, obviously, going on a detox is one thing I recommend every 6 months or 12 months if you haven't done one before. So thanks for watching today. It's been really awesome to share this with you, and it's really great to see more and more information coming out on these amazing podcasts that are going around the world, and the professionals and doctors and researchers that are coming out with the information to back up why we need to detox and clean up our homes, our environment, our bodies, and really how much benefit that can be to our health. So I look forward to talking to you next time. I'm Brett Elliott, the Herbalist, and thanks for watching The Secrets of Herbal Healing.